Hi, this is Jason Hill on the We Belong Here podcast. Today I'm with Shiori Egawa. We're at our first episode of the Sunday Read. Thank you so much for being here today, Shiori.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing well. So it was hot today.
Yeah, but we got a beautiful weather outside.
Yeah. Well, so Shiori, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Shiori, originally from Japan. Grew up overseas, and currently I'm in the ELOE program at HGSC. And prior to this, I worked as a kindergarten teacher, preschool, pre-K teacher for several years in the classroom. I've always been a huge educator, advocate, and the leader for early years learners. And the past couple of years, I served as the head of Early Learning Center at an international setting in Tokyo. And I was overseeing the daily operation. I've done some curriculum designing, teacher training, hosting events, and all of that related to school setting.
Yeah. You've been busy.
I have, yeah. Definitely doing HPL alongside my full-time job was difficult, but we survived.
I know, and it has been so nice to be in class with you and get to know you a little bit. And so I'm gonna ask you a time stamp question. So if you had to use one or two words to describe how you're feeling, and this is our first week of fall classes, so at the end, Thursday of our first week of fall classes, what would those two words be?
Well, I have one word.
Okay.
I would say adventurous. In many ways, I think I've been away from the United States for a while, so coming back here is, again, adjustment to life. I've been also away from being a student for a long time, so coming back to student life is another adjustment. And as well as trying to challenge myself, taking courses or things that I wouldn't normally do if I'm not at HGSC. So I actually signed myself up for the statistics class.
Oh, you're brave.
I know. Looking at all the codings and all that is quite, overwhelming for now. But I was just talking to my academic advisor, Kathy, too, that, try to do something that would challenge you and you wouldn't normally do if you're not here. So I'm just trying to take advantage of these resources and opportunities we have. So and plus I love connecting with nature. So I've been trying to do some hiking, trekking and all that. So that kind of ties to the adventurous aspect.
I love it. That's great. Yes, adventure. I like to say that I'm always on an adventure. So, well, and so you. Thank you so much for being the first guest on the Sunday Reads. I read a copy of your book, and I didn't tell you before, but I actually purchased a copy of your book that will be here on Friday.
Thank you. Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So if after this you have not purchased a copy of the book, we'll say more, but you can get it on Amazon.
Yes.
And so I read a copy of your book, and it really touched me. And so I was trying to think back of if I was writing this book for kids, where would I be? And I was more interested in knowing where you were and what you were thinking. And so what gives you inspiration to write children's books, and what does being a children's book writer and self-publishing author mean to you?
So there was one turning point or one moment where I thought I must write books for children specifically was when I got the offer from HGSC, and I basically had to say goodbye to my children that I worked with, the community I worked, colleagues and parents, families, everybody that I worked for a while. So I thought about all the wonderful things we have done together, learned together, things that they inspire me and they taught me. how can we not only save it as a memory, but for them to own it. Because I have seen these great actions these little children have taken from like teacher perspective, but it's also important for the children to remember and to be proud of, to celebrate. So I thought about how can I deliver this beautiful message to children that in a way that makes sense to them as young learners. So then when I walked into our school library and I looked at all these books, I was like, well, it could be one of them. So writing children's books, definitely illustration is key to delivering the message, but also keeping it personal to them. So maybe Jason, after you get a copy, I think you would think, wow, this is very personal to the community I was in.
Got it.
But I'm hoping that the readers can resonate in many ways and be able to whether it's to build that community or find that community, but even just to know that these children exist somewhere in the world. My case was Japan, Tokyo, this specific school, but yeah, definitely the children inspired me to write this story, and I hope that it spreads out to the world as well.
And that's so great. In the LDIT program, and I kind of got here with thinking about like UX design or like human-centered design, and and really how to center people who I think I have good ideas about and for, but how to actually center them so that my ideas are not just my ideas, but they're maybe reflected back and like centering and are meaningful to someone else and not just meaningful to me. And so I appreciate a lot of that.
Yeah. And another thing I want to share is being a book author also means having this invisible connection with whether it's readers or families of the readers, teachers who might, get inspired, or like someone like you, Jason, who got connected in person, but, learn more about me, learn more about the children I work with through the books that I might not be able to tell so much about it in person. So definitely like having this connection through the book, I found it just wonderful way to establish.
That makes a ton of sense. I just learned so much. And so what has been some of the best aha moments in the process, and what has been maybe at least one of the biggest challenges in writing and self-publishing?
So for the aha moments, definitely like self-reflection during the process of writing and illustrating. As much as it was, of course, meant for my children, the families, and the colleagues, it really allowed me some time to reflect on the best practices we were able to implement in class, how we learned and grew together as a community. So my school specifically was implementing the curriculum from International Baccalaureate, the IB approach, which is inquiry-driven learning for children across like preschool to high school. So while I was writing the story and illustrating, it helped me also realize the effectiveness of this approach, because we were able to achieve so much and have the impact to the wider community beyond our own. So that was really a good moment for me to reflect, we are influencing children, we are making differences in this the world we live in, and hoping that children, our next generation, would do the same to those they encounter. So definitely those are the moments I thought, this is really rewarding to do. For the challenge, the logistics, illustration, layout, all of that, because I'm a private publish it.
Right.
Self-publishing this. So that was really difficult and time-consuming. Someone asked at Hugsy when I shared about my book, like, "Oh, did you have anyone to illustrate?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, I illustrated by myself."
Yeah.
But the way I did was to get inspired from existing pictures, because I was, it was I was very lucky to be in that moment of witnessing these learning going on. So I had that picture and the image that I was able to kind of base off my illustration. So that was really helpful. But finding the right one was very difficult because we take so many pictures. I was just scrolling, scrolling and scrolling, because I can only have 1 or 2 pages to portray the words I have.
Got it.
Yeah, so definitely the layout, illustration, and just the process of publishing was it required a lot of encouragement, time, and just like persevere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if anyone's like interested in, and I've already heard multiple people interested in publishing, I highly recommend Amazon KDP. I think it really opens up the space for someone like us to be a publisher and have your words and stories out there, which could be, more time consuming and difficult if you go through a proper like publishing company.
Yeah. No, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
And so what, like, a part of what I'm hearing is like that there's like you scaffolding is what is coming to my head. But there's so many steps of intentionality and reconnecting meaning and reflection and centering stories and you were a central part of that community as well. And so it just seems like a process that you allowed you to both share and to maybe even receive back and seeing some of the fruits.
Yeah, I like the way you interpret it. It was definitely two-way, and I think later on when you after you play the book, we're gonna talk about like the reactions I received from my students, but after sharing the story was another like journey for me as well. And they had so much insight to share. They were really excited to, find themselves in the story, having themselves as main characters, which most of them, it was their first time to have themselves in a story. It was really like rewarding moments to have after I shared the story. So it was definitely like reciprocated. It wasn't just me sharing, and publishing was more the two-way process.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so is there anything that you want to share more about the book before we even listen to it?
Yeah, I'll just share like a brief summary of it. So my book is called Small Hands, Big Hearts, and it is an inspiring and heartwarming book that captured the essence of young children, the early years learners, compassion, and their incredible ability to create positive change in the world. And this is something that I witnessed through my teaching and learning journey. And it was just so remarkable that how much action they have taken to make a difference in their own community, but beyond as well. So I hope you'll get to discover that through the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we'll listen to the first minute or so.
Small hands, big heart. Once there was a teacher, Miss S, who wanted her class to see that even small hands can make a change and help the world to rearrange. So she took her students into a journey to be global citizens with pride. When students learned about how water supports living things, they decided to do a river cleaning. They cleaned up the trash and made the river green, and saw how their actions made a difference for sure. Small acts can make a difference. If you have a big heart, they said be big.
Wow. And so what I saw that I guess what I was looking at were your illustrations. They were so impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I definitely spend a lot of time staying up late to do that after my work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so what were the reactions of the kids and that you worked with when you shared this book with them?
Yeah, so because I was in the same school also doing classroom teaching prior to joining the leadership team. So I had some of my kindergarten graduates who were in grade 2 or grade 3, and I went to visit their classrooms to share and actually read the story together. And I guess for many of the older students, their questions were mostly about like, how did you make it, instead of like the actual story itself.
Yeah.
Which I was so fascinated that their focus shifted to the process of being an author, creating a book. So they were asking what software I use, how did I draw, and they're like, did you draw that?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I did. And they also asked me how I ended up printing it as a paper copy. So they were also interested in the process of publishing through Amazon KDP.
Wow, yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I know Amazon.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, those questions are somewhat unexpected. But I also received feedback from parents that now these children who ask me these questions, they want to be authors after they saw me and that I was able to be authors too. Yeah, so I was able to kind of inspire them in that aspect, which, yeah, again, it was unexpected, but I was very, very, grateful that they also thought about this perspective after someone, in their school or one of their teachers was actually publishing something. So definitely that was kind of a surprising moment.
Yeah.
But I answered all of their questions thoroughly and with like all the truth, all the struggles, but also how rewarding that experience was. And for younger students, definitely they were looking for themselves in the picture, and when they found that, they were pointing out and very excited. Some of them, interestingly, pointed out a peer who looked like them because of their skin color.
Oh, wow.
Something I can also point out is when I illustrate, because it was very diverse setting, I had students from 50 plus nationalities in the school. So I also, put emphasis on the skin, the color. Just like different appearance and the facial features and all of that. And I intentionally didn't draw the eyes, if you've noticed, because I wanted them to imagine the facial features and the expressions the characters would have reading the stories and thinking about the action we've taken to be global citizens. So I thought of removing the eyes, and someone also asked one of the students, like, is it okay to draw eyes? And I'm like, yes, of course. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of keep that creative, imaginative aspects open to readers. So that's another question I got from students. Why didn't you draw eyes? Like, they're all missing eyes. But that was intentional when I was illustrating. So they were definitely excited. I could see that they were kind of recalling all the memories and recalling the experience we had, because it happened in our community, and it's all real experience and I could see that they were really like resonating their feelings, excitement, and just sense of like achievement.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a really great moment to share.
Wow.
Yeah.
and as you mentioned that you didn't put the eyes, I missed it. Like and so I just went back and I looked and because it seemed and it felt so seamless, like like watching it, you know, go through. And so it just goes to speak again to like that level of detail and that level of intentionality that you put into it. And so
thank you. Removing the eyes actually put more emphasis on like other parts of the face. So I had to really think about how would I draw mouth because eyes missing. So that was another challenge.
Wow. Yeah. And so you mentioned that you shared that the process was rewarding for you and challenging at the same time. And so I'm curious, like, what additional feelings like did you have when you were sharing this with the students and you were seeing their reactions and you were learning that they wanted to learn how to be publishers and you know what was that moment like for you?
I was in a way like a bit shy because I've read so many books and I've done so many storytelling for my students with, you know, books that someone else published. So it was very like easy to read as, you know, third person perspective. But to like read my own book, I was quite shy. And when they saw my name as an author on the cover page, and they were like, wait, that's you. Because I didn't actually reveal that it was my book until the very end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I also wanted to challenge my younger students if they remember like the features of the book. So there's an author, there's illustrator on the cover page, you know, these like literacy component. So I was trying to test if they actually learned that because my teachers were teaching that. So I was like, oh, did you learn that from your teacher?
That's great.
So I was quite shy bringing that up to the class and, you know, reading what I've read, seeing what I illustrated, and also like a bit scared to notice students' reaction because they are so engaged and they're so into the book as I read. But I'm also thinking like, is this boring to them? Like, like are they understanding what I'm trying to convey? So that was like scary and a bit like shy. I was quite nervous.
I bet. I know. I have worked mostly with adults, and children are great, and sometimes they terrify me because you never know what they're gonna say. So toughest critics in all the best ways. And so do you have additional projects that you're working on that you would like to share?
So Small Hands Big Hearts is my first officially published books, but I've had quite a few drafts that I've been working on. Definitely also have a couple of new ideas after I joined HESC. One is, you know, the class we had, which was our final project. I was able to team up with some people, got great ideas, which I would love to put it together and publish in the future. But I've got like several options in my mind. One, I've always wanted to write a story about lunch boxes around the world.
Wow.
And this comes from my own experience being exposed to international schools growing up, because I've always had this Japanese, we call it bento box, that my mom always packed for me. And I've seen so many other kinds of lunch items that everyone else had. And I've seen almost the same thing as I became a teacher.
Got it.
And, you know, having the time to eat with students from just all over the world. I think it's just such a great moment to share, because that's not something everyone can experience hands-on. So that's something I've been wanting to really write.
Whoa.
You should
do it.
Another thing which came from our equity final project is how children learn around the world. So we shared in the class discussion a lot about our personal experience, learning in a school, having teachers who really helped you grow. People had different experiences and all that. So I've got great ideas from several other peers who were willing to share their experience growing up in their own setting. So we're hoping to have this main character who would travel the world to meet friends around the world and witness and learn. Although we are all different people, but learning happens for everybody, regardless of the setting, the accessibility, people you meet, and all of that. So that's my second one. And the last one I have is specifically for early learners, but I'm also in a course called Contemporary Art in Early Childhood with Louisa Penfold.
Sounds super interesting.
And so we have 2 days in a week. One is theoretical work. The other day we go to a studio to do hands-on workshops. This week on Tuesday we went to the art lab at Harvard next to iLab to do like a cardboard experiment. I love cardboard.
I think I saw a picture.
So we were like trying to experiment how to build a play space using cardboard materials. So I'm also thinking to write a book about how different materials that you can collect in your daily lives can turn into a wonderful learning space. So that's something I want to write, targeting early years children. Wow. All sound like great all
projects.
Up in the air, but one day.
And you've done the process too, and so I think that and you did a fantastic job in the process. And
thank you.
You're welcome. I would not be able to publish something so put together. So at least not yet. And so we're moving to our closing questions. What is your favorite thing or place in the surrounding Cambridge, Boston area?
So this one, it's hard because I've only been here for a month now. But I have found this beautiful spot right by Charles River, and that's where close to where I live. There's a bench under a huge tree because it gets hot, so you need the shade sometimes. And you just watch the river, sit down there in the shade, and you can read. It's quiet. You can do people watching if you like that, or you can watch the ducks. However you like. But close to sunset time, it's just mesmerizing and it's beautiful. Actually, once sunset is coming, you can easily walk to the bridge and just watch the sunset, which has been just beautiful moments so far.
Oh my gosh.
Another place, recently been to Fresh Pond Reservation. If you
no, what is that?
It's just a pond very close to campus. I would say 15 minutes bus ride.
Got it.
And it's a place my classmate recommended, and I've checked that place out. It's very easy hike. You just basically walk around the pond. You always have the water view on your right side or left if you go the other way. And there's another pond in the same area where you can watch dogs run into the water and play fetch. So that's a little entertaining place. But I love connecting with nature. So those are the places I've so far found somewhere I can recommend to people too.
Those are great. Those are noted. And so last question. What makes you feel like you belong here at the Harvard Graduate School of Education?
I think it's just the extraordinary level of passion and aspiration people possess at HGSE. People come from different backgrounds, different professional experience, but we all have the same mission to make the world a better place through education. And I think that's where I feel I belong here as well.
Wow, well put. Shiori,
thank you, Jason.
It's been a pleasure. Please, come back anytime. And for those listening, watching, you buy the book. You won't be disappointed.
If not, just reach out, I'm happy to give you the digital copy.
Buy the book. Yeah.
But Jason, you have been such a great active listener. I've always wanted to tell you this in class as well.
Thank you.
So thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Well, I hope you have a great day.
Thank
and
you.
I think I'm just gonna play the book.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Small hands, big heart. Once there was a teacher, Miss S, who wanted her class to see that even small hands can make a change and help the world to rearrange. So she took her students into a journey to be global citizens with pride. When students learned about how water supports living things, they decided to do a river cleaning. They cleaned up the trash and made the river green, and saw how their actions made a difference for sure. Small hands can make a difference. If you have a big heart, they said beaming. The children had a picnic with their families to raise some money to stop deforestation, and with their profit, they planted 118 trees. Small hands can make a difference if you have a big heart, they shouted with glee. The children took care of their class pets and learned to be kind and responsible. They fed them, built habitats, gave them name, love and care, and saw how happy their pets were with a stare. Small hands can make a difference if you have a big heart, they whispered with a laugh. The children had a store day to sell their craft, made from natural items would last. They made necklace, lanterns, boomerang, and bookmarks, paper, flower, and many more, and sold them for a fair price with happy yell. Small hands can make a difference if you have a big heart. They chanted with a clue. The children learned to reuse and recycle too. They participated in fun with boxes to start anew. They made plane ships and rabbits and even a castle, and saw how creativity can change the world's hassle. Small hands can make a difference if you have a big heart, they said with a blast. The children had a pajama party to promote health and wellness, and saw how rest and healthy eating can bring happiness. They tried different kinds of fruits, veggies, and proteins, and made pretend healthy foods to share with others. They learned that self-care is important for mental health. Small hands can make a difference if you have a big heart, they said with pride. The children and families had sports day to bring a community together for positive energy and saw how fun it could be. They ran and jumped, hid and sought, slid and dived and cheered each other on, and learned that teamwork helps us to get things done.
Small hands can make a difference if you have a big heart, they explain.
And every day they learn some more about the world outside their door. They learn to care, to love, to share, and make the world a better place, to be fair. And then one day, Miss S knew it was time to say goodbye to her dear students, to little changemakers, because she had one more journey to make, to find a new crew of curious learners who could learn to be changemakers too, with small hands and big hearts like her class, and help the world to be a better place, as one.
Now let us show you how we can be the next change makers.
Thank you for tuning in to the We Belong Here podcast. If you would like to be a part of the show, please reach out. My email is jasonhill@gsc.harvard.edu. Looking forward to it.